By the end of this video, you will understand the 3 expressions of consciousness, how to use them to create the life you truly want. You'll discover the hidden meaning of the word God, the secret power of the number 3, and how consciousness itself is the key to your reality. We have 3 main expressions of consciousness. We think, we feel, and we act. God is threefold. It stands for generator, operator, destroyer. The generator is the mind. This is what thinks, generates ideas. This is the beginning of all creation. This is the first expression of consciousness. It is the first form of consciousness, not a physical form, but a spiritual form. Then we have the operator, which is emotion. When we think something, if we have care or any emotion towards it, then we take physical action. The body, the destroyer. We think, we care, we act. Thoughts and emotions are the 2 spiritual forces which merge together and give birth to actions. Think about it. Why are you watching this video? Because you had a care to watch the video. Therefore, the reality in front of you is because you had a thought, you had a care, you took action to express that reality. Everything goes through this threefold process. This is why we say, follow your heart, because the body does follow the heart. We think something in the mind, we feel something in the heart, and the body takes action towards it. Everything operates on the care energy of the heart. The body follows the heart. If you do not care about something, then you do not act towards it. It is the care energy that guides our actions in this world. Going back to the generator, the mind is a part of the mental plane, the infinite dimension of infinite information. There is no limitations in the mind. Everything already exists as a piece of information or a thought. This is the beginning of all creation, the spark of creation itself, thought, the mental plane. And our mind exists like a radio, our conscious mind. This is why we call it a mindset. What we set our mind onto through attention, mental attention, whatever we set it on, we receive thoughts that are very similar to what we set it on. The mind is like a radio, and whatever we tune that radio to, we receive that frequency and play that song. So if we purify our minds through ritual work, meditation, and affirmations, the mind can become a temple to receive higher thoughts, higher ideas, and better genius ideas. Going back to operator, this is the Holy Spirit. This is what we care about, our emotion. This is the feminine side of consciousness. Thoughts is masculine, the Father. Emotion is the Holy Spirit, which is feminine. And these 2 create a child, which is Jesus, the Son, which is actions. When thoughts and emotions merge together, you have a physical action, which is a masculine force, which is why it's a son. The Holy Spirit represents a purified heart, love consciousness, holding love in the heart. And when we purify our minds, we have an effect and purify our hearts. And the reason why I say that is because whatever we think in the mind directly corresponds to what we feel in the heart. As above, so below. Thoughts create emotions. If we think something and our heart tells us that is bad, we have a feeling that that is wrong, then we should not take physical action towards it. And if we do take physical action against the feeling of knowing it's bad, then you are going against the spirit. That's what the word Satan means, or Satan. The Hebrew word for Satan is Satan. It means adversary or opposer. You're opposing the Holy Spirit. You're opposing what you know is good. You're taking a sin against the Spirit, against the guidance from your soul, the knowingness of good. So when we do purify our mind, we purify our hearts. And when we cultivate love for the self and one another's in our hearts, we gain the Holy Spirit, which is love consciousness. And when we think in our mind with the love of the heart and we merge our thoughts with love, it gives birth to perfect actions. This is what the true Christ consciousness is. We think with the love of the heart and it gives birth to perfect actions. And if everyone did this in the world, we would live heaven on earth. Everyone would be balanced within themselves and the world as a whole would be balanced. So we need to gain full mastery over these 3 aspects of our consciousness, over what we give mental attention to, gaining love for ourselves and the collective in our hearts, and gaining a strong, disciplined willpower for our physical actions. And if you can gain full control over these three-step process, you can gain full control over your reality. The number 3 represents this 3 aspects of creation or transformation. This is a transformative process from going invisible to the visible. This is also why Jesus dies in a cave for 3 days. It's all about transforming the self. Transformation is the number 3. Me personally, I think the Holy Spirit has been replaced for the sacred feminine aspect of consciousness. They do not want us connecting to our feminine side of consciousness, because then we will cultivate love in our hearts for the self and one another. And love is the most potent force there is in the whole universe. It is what unifies everything. It nurtures everything. It allows things to grow. Think about it. When you hold love or care for someone, you grow relationships. The sun is the perfect symbol and representation of love energy. The sun gives abundantly, expecting nothing back, and allows everything on the earth to grow. It's a caring, nurturing, feminine force that allows things to grow and unify and come together. In today's world, we mainly have thinking and acting without emotion, without care, without the judge of our hearts. It's all about gaining unity consciousness. We think, we care, true care for one another and the self, and we act. And if you align these 3 forces towards something, your business, whatever you're trying to create, you will fully create that reality, because these are the 3 forces that you can use to generate a reality. You can do ritual work to create care in your heart about something, and then you will take more action towards it. The book I'm using here is the Book of Wisdom, Volume 1. You can get this paperback or PDF on my website. So I hope this video has helped you. Please leave a like, comment, and a subscribe on the channel if you like the content. Let me know what you think about the Holy Spirit and if it is covering up the feminine side of consciousness in the comments section. Hello and welcome to another lecture from Harry B. Joseph, also known as Revival of Wisdom, the author of the Book of Wisdom series from revivalofwisdom.com. In this lecture, you will learn how to decode Freemasonic symbolism, gain a deeper understanding of yourself, expand your awareness of consciousness and reality, and receive guidance to navigate life with greater clarity. So today we're going to be breaking down this particular piece of artwork, this Freemasonic artwork, and how this relates to you and reaching a higher consciousness. Because ultimately, this is what it's about, okay? Freemasonry is considered a craft, and this craft is crafting a better brain and heart, crafting a higher consciousness, crafting a better self. Why? So we can operate in the world at a higher degree, operate in the world more efficiently, live a better experience in the world, and getting to know thyself, okay? So we're going to start from bottom to top, because this is important. Every placement of this symbolism is on purpose, has meaning, especially the placements of the symbols, okay? So we're going to start from the very bottom of the artwork, which represents lower down. When we're looking at symbolism, especially occult symbolism, that's what the word occult means. The word occult means hidden, hidden from the eyes. It has its roots in the word oculus. I'm pretty sure that's Latin, which means eye. So the word occult comes from oculus, which means eye. And the word occult means hidden, from the eye, the unseen, studying the unseen aspects of self. We're studying the brain, we're studying consciousness, we're studying the body, the heart, we're studying the self, the hidden aspects of the human psyche and the hidden aspects of self, okay? Because ultimately this is what gives you power in the world, depending on how you use that power, whether for good or bad, depending on the consciousness wielding that power. This is why we say knowledge is power. But I would actually say knowledge of self is power. Because when you know how you function, you gain power. You gain personal power. You gain mastery. Ultimately, this is what Masonry is about. Self-mastery. Crafting a higher consciousness. So at the very bottom of this artwork, we have a checkered board with a coffin. The coffin is the beginning of the artwork, the very base. This is the foundation of consciousness. The coffin symbolizes unconsciousness, the state that myself was in, maybe yourself, before we woke up and before we came conscious of our spirit, before we came conscious of ourselves. That ignorant state of acting without purpose, acting unconsciously, experiencing the world and not actively living in the world, simply reacting to external circumstances. This is an unconscious state where one is ignorant. 80% of the world is in this unconscious state. And this is symbolized as the darkness, the tomb. Look at how the tomb is fully blacked out, representing dull, no emotion, it's dark. This represents the darkness of self. The spirit is buried. The spirit is in the tomb. They're not even aware that they possess consciousness. They think they're the material body flying on a ball millions of miles per hour through space, and the sun is, they think they're a monkey evoluted. They've never questioned themselves. They stay in ignorance. They're in the spiritual darkness, okay? And they're furthest away from the light. Look at the top. This is the light sources. They're in the darkness, okay? They're in spiritual darkness. They're in ignorance. And they're in division. Their mind has no power. Their thoughts contradict themselves. They say they're going to do something, but then their mind tells them, oh, I'm going to fail. Or I want to do this, but my mind says this, and I believe this about myself. They want to, they want to write a book, but their actions are scrolling on TikTok, and their emotions about, feeling about their past person in their life. That's division between the self. That's divided consciousness. They also have a divided brain hemisphere. They do not see reality through a true lens, because the brain acts as like a lens on how we perceive things. And if the brain hemispheres are not aligned, then we cannot see reality the way it actually is and truly presents itself, neutral. If we're left hemisphere dominated, we see everything as divided. Nothing's interconnected, nothing's a whole. But if they're, right hemisphere dominated, they see everything as a whole. We need to look in the middle of that, okay? So we'll go into that a bit later. But ultimately, they're in a divided state of consciousness. They're in ignorance. But the tomb, the tomb is symbolic of that. The tomb is, you're not even aware they are divided. They think everything's right in that state. I was like that. My family is like that. They're not even aware of themselves, and you try and say something to them, and they don't even know they're in division. They don't even recognize that they're in a bad, low, earth base consciousness. Okay? So when we get out of the tomb, which is representing by a spiritual awakening, we get out of the tomb, we realize, wow, I possess consciousness. I've woken up. You're waking up to the things in the world, and you wake up and start to see the world for what it truly is. When you become aware and you rise out the tomb, you're born again, you start looking within. You start to become conscious of your thoughts. You start to become conscious of your actions. You start to become conscious of the evil in the world. You start to become conscious of the things. You rise out the tomb. You start to become conscious of your intuition. You then step on the checkered board. The checkered board is now you realizing you're in a divided state. Okay, so you're now putting down the ego. Because remember, when you're in the tomb, the ego is fully in domination over consciousness, over your consciousness. It doesn't allow you to say that you are wrong. It doesn't allow you to think that there's evil in the world. It doesn't allow you to believe you have a spirit. It doesn't allow you to see that there is maniacs running the world and trying to control you. The ego is so stuck. But when we start to realize this is part of our awakening, we start to realize that the ego is trying to keep us safe at all times and keep us locked in that state of thinking and believing that we were in before. It's always seeking safety. Okay? So when we come out the tomb, we start to put down the ego and start to, how do I say this? We start to acknowledge that we were wrong about the world. And that is a lot about awakening. You have to acknowledge that you do not know everything. There are people with such higher knowledge. Okay? So when we come out the tomb, we put down the ego. We start to actually say, I was wrong about the world. I was a victim of mind control. I was in ignorance. I was in darkness. Spiritual, I'm divided. My thoughts, emotions, and actions are not aligned. My intuition and my action are not aligned. I'm not taking action on what I know is good. I'm taking actions against what I know is good. That's a sin. That's a sin against the spirit. Okay. So when you acknowledge this, you acknowledge you're in division, you then take the first 3 steps, which is the Freemasonic Blue Lodge degrees. These 3 steps. Okay. Ultimately, this checkerboard represents illusions as well. You're in an illusion. Okay, this is why we see it heavily used in the music industry. It represents base consciousness, base level awareness, 5 sense thinking. It represents you versus me thinking, walking down the street and thinking everyone's trying to hurt you, and it's always you versus me, judging people in your own mind. That's low thinking, lower thought. And not to notice squares. Squares are an unnatural state. They're an unnatural shape. We do not see squares or 90-degree angles in nature. It's the lower mind. So it represents base consciousness, base level awareness, only aware of the physical body, only aware of the 5 senses, never looked within. That is the base. And this is the foundation we have to rise up to the light from, up to higher consciousness. So this gives us a strong foundation when we realize this about ourselves, that we were in division. Our thoughts, emotions, actions were not aligned. Our brain hemisphere was not aligned. I'm not thinking with love of the heart. Okay? So that is the state we're in. Now, hopefully that's cleared things up about the chessboard. Before we move on, please leave a like, maybe a comment if you wish for me to discuss anything in the further lectures. Please smash the like button, and it would really help me out. And share this with a friend who is interested in the occult. Okay, so the steps are the first steps of the Freemasonic degree, the 3 Blue Lodge degrees. Now, this can be represented as the number 3, a very powerful number, a very symbolic number. Number 3 is the 3 expressions of consciousness. How do we express consciousness? How does consciousness express itself? Well, there are 3 ways. We think, consciousness thinks, consciousness feels, and consciousness acts. They are the 3 expressions that we express our awareness and consciousness. So we're looking at thought, emotion, action. We're also looking at the 3 brains. The reptilian brainstem, the mammal limbic brain, and the neocortex. The reptilian brain governs basic functions of the human body: breathing, surviving, scanning the environment for threats, automatic responses, eating, scanning for food. base consciousness. That's the reptilian brain. That's what most people operate their lives in, including myself before I woke up. I'm not trying to sound big-headed, but this is the truth. Ignore my tone of voice, ignore my voice, focus on the words I'm saying. If you're judging, that means you have divided thinking. It's always you versus me. So we need to get out of that thinking of you versus me all the time. That's lower consciousness. That's animal thinking. That's earth thinking. We're unified. We need to reach a higher consciousness and do not waste our mind's potential on low-level earth divided thinking. Okay? So we're looking at the reptilian brain, the mammal brain, and the neocortex. Now, the neocortex is ultimately what makes us human. It allows consciousness to operate on a higher degree, okay? This is what makes you human, the neocortex. The neocortex. The reptilian brain, like I just said, governs natural survival instincts and the respiratory system, things along them lines of basic awareness, basic functions to operate and survive in the world, in the physical plane. And the neocortex is what allows us to critically think. Okay, it's what allows us to be human, be aware of ourselves. Okay, not. I don't think animals have neocortexes. Don't quote on me on that, but this is the part of the brain that makes us human. And it allows us to think deeply, to create masterpieces like we can. Humans have massive potential in creation. Look at the world we live in. This is because of the neocortex. It allows us to critically think and self-reflect. Now, when we start to operate from higher thought, we start to think with higher thoughts, the higher parts of the mental dimension, we ultimately start using this brain more. We start functioning from the higher brain. Now, this is why Neo from the Matrix is called Neo, because he uses he was in the reptilian brain. If you watch the film The Matrix, if you notice, he gets plugged out of the Matrix and he's plugged in on the back of his neck into the brainstem. And when he's plugged out, his name's Neo, which is neocortex, using the higher brain. It's what awakens the self. It allows consciousness to function on a higher degree compared to animals. Okay? So we're looking at thought, emotion, action. We're becoming conscious of thought, emotion, action. Becoming conscious, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and what am I acting in the world? And what can I do to master these, to operate more efficiently in the world? How can I use these towards higher consciousness and use these actions, these thoughts, emotions, actions to reach a higher state of awareness of self? So when you go through the first 3 degrees, you enter the doorway. Now, this is symbolic of a doorway. Now, looking at this with a right hemisphere dominated view, you would see a doorway, right? The right hemisphere sees this as a holistic doorway, right? You see a door, you enter the stairs, you go through the door, right? But at the left hemisphere is now going to dissect and analyze each individual little part of this, right? So the right hemisphere sees the trees, the left hemisphere sees the woods. So to dissect this down on a right hemisphere, going back to the right hemisphere, we're entering the door. The door is symbolic of entering the unknown. You're entering a higher consciousness. You're entering the door. You're going beyond. See, this is the earth here in the background. This is the darkness. The darkness represents the abyss, the unknown. You're entering in the self. Okay? This door represents entering in the self, questioning internally. Most of us think externally. We have to, obviously, to operate in the world, but we never give time to think and question and reflect internally. What do I mean? Closing the eyes and questioning the self. Who am I? Where am I from? What's the voice in my head? If the voice in my head stopped using the language that I speak, what is it then? It's about going within, into the darkness, what you cannot see, and finding the light. Okay? It's about entering within the self. This is a doorway to higher knowledge, higher consciousness, higher self, and really digging deep for what you truly are beyond your human form. Okay? So we have, most importantly, I'm not going to go over every single one of these symbols here. I'm going to go over this on a basic, well, not a basic level, a very detailed level, but it's not going to go over every single symbol. We have a left pillar and a right pillar. The left pillar has the sun next to it. The sun is more electrical energy. It's very dominant. It's a very powerful, masculine force. This represents the masculine quality of consciousness. The masculine qualities. We have many masculine qualities, such as actions, physical actions with the body. We have thinking. Thinking is a very masculine force. We have the left brain, analyzing brain, the brain that's very logical, that's trying to figure things out. That's the masculine pillar. Okay? So this is the masculine qualities of consciousness. It also represents what we can see, the sun. The sun allows us to see, to visually see in the world. So the sun represents the external world, the world outside the self. When we close our eyes, we have a self, an internal dialogue, an inner voice. We have an inner world, outer world. This represents the world we take physical action in, the material external world outside you. Okay? The world we can see. And then on the right pillar, we have the moon, which is associated with feminine qualities of consciousness. Now, the moon is in the night, what we cannot see. The moon is the nighttime. The darkness symbolizes what we can't see. So it's representing the internal world, the world of the self, the immortal world. Okay? The self in the mind is immortal. When you close your mind, you go in the mind, that self inside you is immortal. In the mind, you are immortal. Outside the mind, you are mortal. You will die. This body will die. Okay? So this is representing the internal world on a holistic understanding. It's also representing the right brain, the feminine brain. It's also representing intuition, emotion. They're linked. Intuition and emotion. They're a feminine force. Also, we're looking at the heart, the right pillar. So everything that is feminine falls under this right pillar. Now, don't get confused. I know a lot of people can get confused about what I've just said. So this represents the inner world, the outer world. It also represents everything masculine and feminine. So thought is, although it's an internal quality, it would fall under the left pillar, because thought is a masculine force. It's a penetrating force. So try not to get misunderstood with that. On a holistic scale, it's also represented inner world, outer world, and how they are reflections of each other. Now, these pillars, they're the same height, they're the same structure, but just different in sun and moon, which represents their reflections of each other. Their reflections, the inner world reflects in my outer world. My external world, what I see outside of me, is a reflection of my thoughts and my internal world. So the inner reflects the outer. The inner reflects the outer. As within, so without. So, we're also looking at the right and left brain. I've already gone over that. So, what we need to do is build the bridge between the two to reach higher awareness of self. Because ultimately, remember, we're still divided. We came from the checkerboard, we entered up here, we've just entered within the self, started questioning the self. We're still divided. We need to build the bridge. And this is what they're crafting in Freemasonry. The bridge, the arc, the agreement, the great work. This is the crafting of aligning the left and right brain. We're also aligning intuition, feminine, with the actions. Because ultimately, the higher self is always guiding us. That's our true spirit guide. Our true spirit guide is our higher self. And the higher self ultimately exists in a higher dimension. This is going to sound crazy to some people, okay? But who you are is not your human body. And your higher self does not communicate through the language of the human material world. It doesn't communicate through English, doesn't communicate through thoughts. It communicates through intuition and communicates through dreams and symbolism. So it's all associated with the right pillar. This is the things we can't see. The higher self is always guiding us to awakening and to our purpose on the earth. Okay, so this left pillar also can symbolize what we're born into the world with, our circumstances, our external world. What are we born into? You know, our family, our current financial situation, where you're located in the world. So it's also symbolizing this. It's also symbolizing the qualities you bring here, the natural abilities you have when you're born, and what we need to do with our environment to ultimately reach a higher consciousness and reach our and transmute our environment we're born into to realize who we were and why we came here. Okay, so we need to build the bridge between intuition and action, and always take action on what we know and feeling is right at all times. That's unity consciousness. And when we do this, we gain the light. We gain more light, symbolic of more information of the self. Because the higher self is always guiding. It's always watching over. And it's always trying to give us knowledge of awakening, of why we came here. And when we take action on what we know and feel is right at all times, it's like a domino effect and a stepping stone that pushes you closer and closer towards your life purpose. Okay? We're also aligning the right and left brain to perceive the world in truth, to see the world in its true form, to see the world in what it actually is, instead of any distorted left or right hemisphere dominated beliefs or thoughts. We ultimately do that by acknowledging that, yes, you have a self, you have, the left brain is more ego, this like divided thinking, everything's separate, and the right hemisphere is more holistic. So we need to see the world in the middle of this, in the middle, acknowledging the self and acknowledging the collective consciousness, and how my thoughts, emotions, actions contributing towards myself and the collective. We always need to keep the collective in mind. Why? Because we are experiencing this world together. It's not just you. And your actions also have a ripple effect on the collective. We're experiencing the world as a whole as well. Yes, there's yourself and there's the collective. We need to think, feel, and act towards the collective and the self. So aligning our brain hemispheres allows us to do this. It allows us to think holistically and individually and see reality in this. And when we do align the left and right brain, what do? We gain higher insight, the eye. We build the bridge between the left and right pillars. We gain the eye. The eye is what? Insight. The eye requires light to perceive and see the material world. So this is symbolic. This is the inner eye, the inner self, consciousness. And when consciousness has light, which is symbolic of truth, knowledge, light is a massive symbol in Freemasonry. And light represents knowledge of self, information. And when we gain information and knowledge of self, when we align our left and right hemispheres, our actions take action on our intuition, we gain higher light, higher knowledge of self, ultimately. And this is why we also have the square and the compass. Okay? We have a square and compass here. The square and the bottom, base consciousness, also representing masculine qualities. This is the masculine qualities because squares are masculine. And the compass creates circles. So we have the circle on top of a square. Circles are divine. This is oneness. The circle is one line. The square is 4 lines. It's divided. So we need oneness over division. We need to unify the masculine and feminine qualities. Masculine, feminine qualities, okay? This is in the middle because the compass would fall on the right pillar and the square would fall on the left pillar. And it's unifying. It's representing unification of these 2 pillars of masculine and feminine qualities of self to ultimately rise towards this light, out of the darkness and into the light. Okay? Let's go back. The G. This is very important. This is one of the most important teachings I could possibly give you about the G. The G is the generative principle, is what generates things. And the force within you that generates things is care and the heart energy. The heart ultimately expresses our actions. We think, if we care, we act. Everything in your external world is in front of you because your heart cares. You care about the video and gaining knowledge. You're now here watching this video. That's the care energy expressing actions. So in order for us to truly get out of this divided consciousness, we have to go through the G. We have to go from base consciousness, the square, divided, we go through the G because we have to care. And if we care, we'll reach the higher mind and gain higher self-knowledge and master the self. You cannot do this if you do not care. And if you do care, you will take action towards it. If you're watching this and you don't actually truly deeply care, you won't take the action. You'll just gain the knowledge, which is ultimately useless. You have to take action on this knowledge. And if you do not, there's no point watching the video. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's not easy. And things, throw us off our path sometimes. I understand. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but we ultimately have to give care towards reaching higher knowledge. Seek and you shall find. If you have the care about reaching higher knowledge of self, you will seek it and you will take actions towards it. Okay. we see this everywhere, and I mean everywhere. The Temple of Solomon has the two pillars, Jachin and Boaz pillars, feminine and masculine qualities. Sol, O, Mon. Sol is sun, Mon is moon. It's building the temple, which is the temple is the inner self, ultimately. It's symbolic. The temple's not a real place. The temple of self, building the Temple of Solomon and reconstructing the Temple of Solomon, is about reconstructing the self through masculine and feminine qualities. We see it everywhere. And this is very symbolic, like very symbolic. We have the two pillars, we have building the bridge, and we have a stairway that goes to what you can't see because it's going to the unknown. You have to have faith. Okay? What I'm about to say is very important. You don't know what higher consciousness is, okay, until you get a little bit higher. This is hard to explain, but I didn't know what everyone talks about what higher consciousness is. I can't give you my higher consciousness. It doesn't work like that. You have to enter in and go within and have faith, going into the unknown, because you're ultimately going into something you do not understand. Higher consciousness, I cannot give it you. You have to enter the door and take action and think, feel, and act towards it, and you will go to the place, and then you will understand what higher consciousness is. Ultimately, what higher consciousness is higher knowledge and understanding of self, what you actually are. Okay, that is what's being symbolized here. It's again in the Masonic occult. We have the darkness. We have to have faith to leap into the darkness, into the unknown. We see this everywhere. Like, you'll see when I say this everywhere, and I mean everywhere, you'll see this. Every doorway has this symbolism in the ancient world, because ultimately this is what it's about, people. The door represents going within into a new light, a new room, a new level of understanding of self. Okay? Here we have Astro World. Now, this is obviously a darker aspect of this. But again, we have the two pillars. See you on the other side. That's the doorway. The other side. And I'm not going to break down, this ritual, but you can guess what I'm on about here. That's for the university, of course. I can't break that down on YouTube. It's way too deep. But there's knowledge out there that is so deep you couldn't even comprehend it with the current mind, even for myself. And this is the power of symbolism. The more you learn about yourself, the more these symbols reveal to you. It is a journey of self. And I can't give you these understandings. You have to go within and question and meditate on these symbols yourself and have thinking exercises of meditating on a symbol and seeing what your mind does with the symbol, what it lets you think about that symbol, and you'll unlock deeper meanings. I'm going to go over one more symbol before we end this. This is the hourglass, which represents time. Time, a very overlooked thing in today's world. We do not have unlimited time in this body. You have limited time. You will die. You will die. You have limited time in the external world. This is why it's on the left pillar, located on the left side, the external world. You are limited. The scythe represents you will be harvested. Your body will die. It'll be harvested. You will die. And you need to fulfill your mission here. You came with a purpose. You have to find that purpose by going within the self and questioning and taking action on what you know and feel is right. Unity consciousness, aligning thought, emotion, action. So, if you wish to learn deeper insights, gain exclusive lectures, astral projection, self-mastery, I've just started a new section on mind control methods and how people are using this in society and becoming conscious of it. I've now opened 5 spots at a limited special price for Ethereal University. Use the code MIND, all capital letters, MIND, all capital letters at the checkout. And there's only 5 of these codes. Whoever uses them gets them. It's ultimately going to give you 20% off the university for as long as you're subscribed to the university. We go so much deeper in the university. Remember, social media is just the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg information. There are certain things I can't talk about, but I'll see you inside, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and a subscribe.